What's up, team? Welcome to another episode. I'm Andy.
And I'm Sam. And what are we talking about this week, Andy?
All right, in this episode, we're going to be covering our roundup of the week before. Wasn't great for me. Surprise, surprise. Any surprise results from the teams that played, any announcements, any things that we should be considering moving forward, and also what do our teams look like for this coming game week, and what do the matchups look like, because we do have a double game week, so there are a few strategies that can be played.
I think we should caveat that as well, Andy, and say which chips are we using this week? We'll finish with.
Oh, I think that's a big one. That's a big one. I may have a surprise for you, or maybe it's not that much of a surprise. We'll find out. Let's get right into it. Let's start with how did we go in the week that just passed. Do you want to share your screen or would you like me to do the honor?
No, I'll share. I feel like it's fairly obvious how our week went when we start these things, given the facial expressions and
I'll be like,
how we go. So this is how I shook out at the end of things. I finished with Sells with a single point in net, Gabriel with 7, Trent with 5, who's a transfer in, Hall 2, Kulusevski transfer in with 2, Salah 16, captain, Palmer 2, and Mbumo 7, Gakpo saviour of the week 16, Mateta 2, and Isak coming through with 13 points. Again, more benched points. Kirkes with 6, Munoz with 4, Rogers with 1, and Fabianski with nothing. So 73, I did take a -4 to bring in Trent. I think Robinson went out, Trent came in. Was a good transfer that way. And then I had Kulu out, Gordon. Kulu in, Gordon went out. Bad transfer that way. So I think it kind of, in the end, it shook out to be about level. So finishing on 69 with the -4. And yeah, happy days. Good week for me. A couple of good differentials.
Great week for you, Gakpo. Oh, mate, I think I tried to play it too clever with Watkins, and it just didn't work out for me. And with the 73 points, even with the -4, you came out on top in our head-to-head, so I'm no longer 2 games ahead. You're restoring order, as I would say.
Restoring order, and it's the first week that I kind of won with a little bit of a buffer. It wasn't. I normally win with like 2 or 3 points, and this week was a good double-digit advancement on you.
Great week for you. Look, not the best game week for me. 7 mil in the world. I actually don't know where I went wrong. I think I know, sorry. Gakpo. Everyone has Gakpo. I'm the one idiot who doesn't. So my team, I've got Sells with 1 point, Burn with 2, Kanate with 5. I keep getting away with not having TAA, and Kanate is matching the points, so I don't know how long I can get away with that for. Munoz with 4, Palmer with 2, Rogers with 1, Gordon with 5, Salah captain with 16. Wood with 2. This is the first time he's actually hasn't scored in a little while. Why isn't that loading? Anyway, this is the first time he hasn't scored in a little while. He was actually doing all right so far. Watkins with 5, which is disappointing because I brought Watkins in thinking that he would be performing a lot better than he has. We've always said that he's a purple patch player. With his goals recently, I thought, okay, the lad has hit his purple patch. Let's see him fly. And it just didn't happen. That could have easily been Gakpo, and I would have been celebrating. And then Isak with 13, and on the bench, Stolicic with 2, Ahmad with 3, Robinson with 2, and Hoyson with 6. And who out there actually expected Bournemouth to get a clean sheet against Nottingham Forest? Right? So that's my...
Put 5 past him.
Yeah, exactly. So look, I've slipped down to 214,000th rank. That's okay. I seem to fluctuate between 150 and 200. Let's start the slow march back up.
Yeah, I mean, when you put it in perspective, like you've dropped to 200,000. I gained like 120,000 places this week, so I've come up, 2/3 of what you are altogether. So like, perspective is good, and when you've only dropped that much, I know we always say it's tight at the top, but it's a bit further down. But we're both moving the right direction. Like, poor week for you, but like the players are still there, which is what we keep saying. The players are there to build on. And yeah, I think we've said all year that it's just been the calls, and I think you've made quite a good calls at times, and I keep going for Bruno, and it's a bad call. Yeah, joy. So to finally land one and get Gakpo in has been worthwhile. But I mean, like it's all swings and roundabouts, though, isn't it? Because I know we got Liverpool played in the Champions League, and most of the first team stayed at home and didn't even go to PSV to play. But Gakpo did and played 60 minutes. So is he going to play in the double, or does that now give majority of the people a one-game player? Who knows?
Oh, look, I don't want to say I hope he just plays one game for people, but as a non-Gakpo owner, I hope he just plays one game for people. I'm sorry for all the Gakpo owners out there. This is a selfish call by me.
Yeah, it's hard to gauge because obviously we do have lots of attackers in the squad, and with Diaz staying at home, yeah, you think maybe he'll play up, but either one of them can still play up top. I'm still not sure where Darwin fits in, so we might see him on, and there's a reasonable gap between game week 1 and game week 2 for Liverpool. There's about a week with the FA Cup in the middle on playing Plymouth. Like, I shouldn't do that at base, but playing Plymouth, you think they'd play some young people, so maybe Gakpo gets his rest at Plymouth and then plays the second game. Who knows? It's hard to call, isn't it?
True. Well, let's pull up the result for last weekend's games, and let's go through any surprises. I know there were a few there, and anyone to keep an eye on any players that we should be thinking about that should be in our plans in the upcoming game weeks.
Well, results are on screen. I think the Liverpool Ipswich one, I think we, as expected, really. I think Ipswich gave Liverpool a bit of a run at the start of the year, the first game out. Liverpool still managed to win that one, but I think this is. I don't think any of the surprises came out of this one for me. Anything for you?
Greaves, defender from Ipswich, ruining Liverpool's clean sheet was a surprise.
I didn't like the 91st minute as well.
Mate, we had the clean sheet lined up, but I don't think that would have helped my rank because most people have a Liverpool defender. So,
yeah.
Right, we got Newcastle, Southampton next. Same, I think this went how we thought. Now, I don't know who Tonali is, but Isaac, Gorton, Murphy, same people on the score sheets. So, look, I don't think I'm still staying away from Southampton assets. Yeah, nothing really to talk about for me from this game.
Yeah, so just for your knowledge, Tonali's, I think he's an Italian midfielder that they bought over 12 months ago, but he kind of got suspended in a betting scandal. He had like 8 months out where he was suspended for, so he's recently come back into the team. And he was a big money signing, so it was a loss for them when he went, and you're expecting him to kind of get embedded in that team, and he's kind of sitting in that defensive, central mid role, and which has pushed Bruno Guimaraes up into the attacking mid role, back into the role we saw him in when he first joined Newcastle.
The things you know, Sam. The things you know. That is great. Okay. This next one, this was a surprise. I was actually quite shocked at this result because for this whole season we knew Bournemouth haven't been bad, they've been pretty decent, but we also knew Forest have been great, and to have this result 5-0, this is domination.
Yeah, I don't always know the scores when I get up, and I know you get up earlier than I do. I know it's a ridiculous time in the morning, and I always know when there's been a big score because I get a message that's like, man, who the hell is Dango?
That's so true. Who is Dango? Who is this guy?
I think he's reasonably moved into the team, but he plays alongside. You've got Kluivert, Semenyo, and Dango plays on the wing. But with Bournemouth having all their strikers out, he's playing as an out of position forward. So it's maybe a good option in there. So you kind of got he's sitting just above Semenyo and Kluivert a bit further back. So similar player, similar type. Kluivert with penalties. Semenyo's got shots, and then Dango's the out of forward. Position forward.
Does this change anything for you? Does this change how appealing Forest players are now, and does this change how appealing Bournemouth players are, because they will have some good fixtures coming up? Does this change anything for you at all?
For me, no. I was always looking at Bournemouth with the good run of fixtures that had come up, hence why I've kept Kirkes sitting in defence. The thing that I think has changed for me isn't the Bournemouth or Forest players, it's the chip usage for this week, with Bournemouth being involved in that Liverpool game. Like, a month ago, Bournemouth and Everton were thinking, great, that's what a week for a chip. Now it's like, it's Bournemouth and Everton. Like, it's both away as well. Like, bit more difficult than it was a few weeks ago. And, off the back of these, Bournemouth are putting some goals away. Liverpool defence isn't looking great. And, I think we're up for a good game now. So it really puts into question what chips are we playing.
I still think Liverpool can win. They are at the top of the table, but it just comes down to, will there be lots of goals from Liverpool's side? Because Bournemouth looked like, they got a clean sheet against Forest, who scored against most teams. And will Liverpool keep a clean sheet? Because those are the things which will give assistant managership bonuses, right? You get points for winning, you get points for clean sheets, and you get points for goals. And if goals and clean sheets are not going to be in an abundance, then really you're just relying on the points for winning.
And that's the thing. If you're playing a chip this week and you're thinking it could be a bit of a goal fest, the triple captain Salah still is on the table because he's hopefully going to be involved. But it does also open up with the fact that Bournemouth have got reasonably good fixtures for the next couple as well. So maybe the triple captain, maybe the assistant manager chip comes in, because if they can go and score 3 at home to Liverpool, you're going to get some decent points there. And I think Liverpool are still just far enough out that they'd get some extra points for a win and being 4 or 5 point teams ahead. So look, it's made things fresh, and I think we were looking at triple captain or nothing, but now I think there's a decent argument for the assistant manager chip.
It's interesting. Actually, let's talk about this when we talk about our teams, because I don't want to ruin it. But there's a few thoughts here. I think this is one of those game weeks where you can see either Liverpool winning both, just scraping through, or there are a few upsets. Yeah. There's a few ways this can go. Now, Man City versus Chelsea. Haaland, mate, he's stepping up. I mean, I still can't bring him back in because he's playing Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool in the next few. But Man City assets, I'll tell you what, mate, they are in the thoughts. The moment the hard fixtures are over, I'm bringing in Man City assets.
Yeah, and like we said last week, if they can just keep getting the goals, like look at their 3 goal scorers. They're the 3 players that we've been looking at throughout the season: Foden, Gvardiol, Haaland. So if we can get one of those and they can nab a couple of goals in their hard fixtures, you're going to be up on everyone else, and you're going to get them before the price bump. And especially if you're looking at, we're starting to get to the point of the season where injuries start to happen and small people are out, or big players are out with little niggles. So we know we've got Saka out. But if we potentially lose a Salah or a Palmer, or an Mbeumo is a bit cheaper but still a bit of money, you might think to move to Foden now a bit earlier, because their fixtures are still bad, but they are starting to put in some performances. And I'd like to just make a little shout out to the man himself, Edison, who's managed to get himself another assist. I'd like to know how many years in a row this is now with an assist from the big man in goal.
Mate, that is wild. Okay, what are your thoughts on Palmer? Because he has blanked a bit now.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm exaggerating that. He's gotten 10, 2, 10, 10, 2, 2. So, okay, he's only blanked 2 game weeks. But for someone who's 11.3 mil, what are your thoughts?
I'm still holding him, but mainly because of how many other people are holding him. I think if you move him now when he goes and does another 3 goals or 2 goals, you're going to drop rank quite significantly on that, unless you manage to pick someone up who matches him. But like we say, he gets 2 or he gets 10. He doesn't get 5. He doesn't get 6. It's 2 or 10. So if you get 2, and then you move him, and you move to Foden, who gets 5, and then Palmer gets 10 and 10, you're 15 points off. While he's still highly owned, I think he's still a keep, especially if we're not trying to get to Haaland. We have the money to move around, and our teams still look really good, even holding Palmer in the middle there. So for me, he's a keep at the moment, but going forward, he's probably one that would look at moving, but only if we need to take that risk.
And with Saka out, and with Man City still having difficult fixtures, who else do you spend the money on? That's a thing. I mean, it feels a bit sacrilege to sell Palmer to get into Bournemouth mid. But Bournemouth mids are performing, the likes of your Cliverts and Semenyo's.
Yeah, and that's where we talk about the season keepers that we've got. But is a Rodgers to a Semenyo or something is that an upgrade? Is that worth it?
Yeah, that's worth it. That is worth it. Or
Yeah.
Well, okay, would you go Semenyo or over Clivert after the recent performances?
In honesty, I'd probably go with Django, just because he's playing as the out of position forward. He's going to be in the box. So, looking at the stat,
Right.
penalties on Clivert's on penalties. So the three things that you've got are Clivert's on penalties, which is a bonus, but you have to get the penalty to do it. Semenyo is shooting from more spots, so he's kind of shooting from outside the box and inside the box. And Django's shots are coming from inside the box, but like 90% of his shots are from inside the box. So that's what you want: close, good quality shots, as opposed to out of box shots. But we know Semenyo can hit the target from anywhere. So just on the playing in forward role, shooting from inside the box, I'd go with Django just for now. But that might, could change by the time I actually want to bring one in.
You could go for all three, or go for two. Go for a Dango and a Clivert. But yeah, I mean, let's talk about that when we're looking at our teams. Crystal Palace versus Brentford, and Burmo scores again.
Yeah, another penalty, and I don't know if you saw it. It's just as when Mbumo's running up to take this penalty, Whistler's already running off, celebrating the goal before he's even kicked the ball. So I think Brentford have always got a lot of confidence that he's gonna get those goals. This one was a bit weird. We thought Crystal Palace were in the ascendancy a little bit, and they're going against Brentford, who lost a few games, and at home, they lose. So has it stalled Palace a bit? Maybe, hard to tell. I need to watch them going forward, but this was a bit of a dogfight, I think.
Yeah, and especially with Crystal Palace being one of the candidates for the assistant managership, where if they're in the ascendancy, they're playing a few of those teams which are upper mid table, which they probably could beat on the right day. Yeah, you're right. This would have been one of those games where you would have bet an assistant managership on. That Palace could beat Brentford, and are they 5 spaces apart? If they were, that would have given you a lot of good points. But yeah, I still don't trust Palace assets. Munoz assists enough, but I don't trust Palace assets enough.
Yeah, I think I'm on 2 because I still have Mateta, but I'd like to see what they do going forward, because he's still a good differential and he's still a good option. It is just this was a bit of a let-off, this one, because you've got Wissa, who didn't get anything out of the game. But if he stays at Brentford, I think he's a great option. He's got one of the most goals. He's set up the most chances out of strikers. So he's putting up good numbers. So he's making a good argument for himself. And, if we're going to get Crystal Palace who are off and on, do we want a cheaper off and on striker? Yeah, don't know.
Yeah. Fulham United. What did you think of this game? I'm not surprised. I thought there would be more goals in it.
Yeah, look, I was kind of thinking a 0-0 was probably a fair assessment. I kind of had a look and I was watching it, and I think it was like 90 minutes before Martinez scored. The worrying thing for me is that even though they had a clean sheet until 90 minutes, United did not have a shot on target or a shot in general in the first 40 minutes of the game. Like, you expect a Man United team to be shooting, and the fact that they aren't able to, and this is not the first time during Alan Rim's managerialship that this has happened. Like, something needs to change in this team, because I just can't trust them forward or back.
They seem inconsistent, because sometimes you have these games where the likes of your Ahmad, Bruno Fernandes are scoring goals, and then you have these games like this one where it's a 1-0 versus Fulham.
Yeah, and look at the bonus points. It's 3 defenders. Like, the 2 central defenders got bonus points there, and 1 fullback. So, that tells you what you need to know about the game. That that it wasn't 2 attacks going at each other. It was 2 teams not really doing a whole lot, and that's the way it sounds, and it looks like it was. So, I think someone said to me that a fair assessment of this game would have been if both teams had lost, and I kind of agree. Don't know how that would have happened, but it wasn't a good game, and United lucky to come out. I mean, they did score again. It was 2-0 and then ruled out by VAR. Ahmad scored, but offside that one. So it did kind of spring to life a little bit in the last couple of minutes, but you got 90 minutes. It's boring.
My boy Ahmad, the United asset. Here's the thing, I know at some point I'm going to have to either sell Rodgers or Ahmad. And I am torn because they're both cheap enablers who've been doing all right this season. I just know at some point to get a better play in, I need to sell one of them. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. On to Arsenal versus Wolves. Mate, this was disappointing. Look, I'm glad they won, but 1-0 against Wolves? I mean, Wolves' defence isn't strong. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Wolves scored and this was a high-scoring game, but the Wolves' defence, I mean, how often have they kept clean sheets and Arsenal only got one in, which probably shows you how much they're lacking in creativity at the moment without Saka.
Yeah, and again, look at the bonus points. Saliba, Ray, Gabriel. So it kind of tells you what you need about the game, especially when the goal scorer, the match winner, doesn't get any bonus points.
Wild. Villa, West Ham, this was also disappointing, especially when we saw how many goals West Ham leaked. I mean, this was disappointing for me with the Watkins ownership. I don't know what else to say here, really. I didn't expect a 1-1. I thought Villa would win at home. Yeah, this game hasn't given me any more data. Not really. It hasn't given me any new data. The only thing it's really done for me is cast a shadow over Watkins when I thought that he was hitting a purple patch.
Yeah, the only thing I would comment on with Watkins is all the transfer rumours that are flying around for Aston Villa. Like, we know that Arsenal lodged an official £40 million offer for Watkins about 2 hours before Aston Villa played their Champions League game. But there's also a rumour that there's a £40 million bid in for Duran from Al Nassr in the Saudi Pro League. So if he goes, Watkins isn't going anywhere because they're going to need him. And that would make him the out-and-out only forward for Villa, and that probably makes him far more attractive.
Wait, does he though? Because he's been playing more recently, and do you think not having the competition there is good for him? Or good for him from an FPL perspective, or bad?
I think it's good for him, because if you look at the goals are split between the two of them. So if you've only got Watkins, he's going to play 85 minutes instead of 60 minutes. So he's got that extra 25 minutes, and he's going to be there when teams tire, and he's going to be able to play more minutes, more potential for goals. And if Villa have been playing a little like, they're not the same striker, they're different strikers. So if Villa are trying to play differently with whatever striker is on, maybe just putting Watkins back on and having the one striker, the one way works, is the way forward for Villa.
Yeah, okay, fair. All right. And West Ham assets you still wouldn't touch. I mean, Emerson, Alvarez, it's not like these are recurring names popping up. Yeah.
No, especially when they still have injuries, still got Bowen out. I still would just be wary. Like, keep an eye on him again, because they still got the new manager. They still got things of changing. But yeah, for now, no.
All right, Brighton, Everton. I mean, hey, Everton scored. Would you consider Ndaye? Am I pronouncing that right? I don't know. But would you consider Ndaye for the double game week?
I don't know if you're pronouncing it right. My only worry is that he did seem to pick up a little bit of a niggle at the end of the game, so you'd want to make sure that he's fit. This game is kind of, we'll get into it a bit later, but this is what has kind of put me off assistant manager a little bit, because I would like to use Moyes in his double, but I'm not sure the attacking assets are there anymore.
What do you mean?
Well, like, Beto is there, and he's coming back from injury. If Ndaye is going to miss a game, that reduces their ability to score. And like Dominic Calvert-Lewin is injured, so they would have three strikers all out, so they don't have a recognised striker again, and that would really reduce their chances of getting anything out of these games. And if they're not able to score, they're not able to maximise points. So I think there's other ways I would then be looking at a better team to guarantee some points over going for the risk of Everton, because it would be an Everton to someone other team.
Yeah, fair. What about defensive assets?
Look, it's still they still look good. I just don't know, because it's a bit of a risk. It's still a bit of a risk for me going for an Everton defender, and I would have to move out someone that I would like to keep. Like I still want to keep Sells, because he's playing for, at the moment, he's playing for like a top 4 team. I don't want to move Kirkes because they've got good fixtures coming up. I don't want to move Gabriel or Trent yet, because one's got the double and one plays for Arsenal. And there's just not really an obvious option for me to move someone out to get someone in. And knowing my luck for the year, I'd move Kirkes out, bring Mikolenko in. Mikolenko would get 1 point and 1 point in the double, and Kirkes will score 2. So I think there's not enough upside for me yet, but it's still early in the week.
Yeah, fair. And lastly, oh mate, what's happening to Spurs? I mean, the fans aren't happy here. 2-1 at home against Leicester? That is wild. And this makes me sad.
I think
like Spurs.
Yeah.
I think
we really need to consider.
Sorry. Let me caveat that. I like Spurs in FPL. I like Spurs FPL assets, but being an Arsenal supporter, I obviously, yeah.
Well, I think we need to change the name of our pod, and I think we need to change it to Spurs be Spursy, because I think it's the most commonly said phrase in this pod. But again, what is going on? Why is this happening? Like, Spurs are looking to be in a relegation fight if this continues. So, interesting to see Richarlison back from injury, back on the score sheet against the Leicester team. But yeah, just look at that, like 8.79. That's kind of like the interest owned. Like, that's how little people are owning Spurs assets, because they're just all over the place. I brought Kulu in thinking that there's a few goals in this for Spurs, but I'm already looking at moving him out.
Was this okay? Yes, obviously, I'm the guy that doesn't watch the games or the highlights, right? So half these questions are probably really dumb for anyone who watches the games. But anyway, was this Spurs being bad, or was this Leicester being good?
See, I think it's a difficult question. I think Leicester were good, and I think Spurs were average. But I think what it shows, now we have enough information to say that Spurs they're not bad, they're just not clinical. They don't put chances away, they don't keep teams out, they don't do anything particularly well, but on odd days, things click, and they go and score 4 or 5. And then other days, nothing works, and they lose to Leicester. Like, you just can't see, and there's no combination of players. Yes, they've got lots of injuries, but they can still have loads of injuries and then go and beat Liverpool 1-0 in the League Cup. Like, I don't really understand where the disparity is and how we figure out which Spurs team is going to show up on any given day. And, going Kulu was a bit of a risk, yeah. But, like, we could have had a 4-0, 5-0 Spurs game. We could have had a 3-0 Leicester game. It's just no one told.
That's the thing, though. Going Kulu was a risk, and I said to you, when you floated the idea last week, I was like, oh, I don't dislike that trend in Kulu, right? If this result was 3-2 Spurs win, would we be surprised? We wouldn't be surprised at all. This score of 2-1 Spurs loss surprises me way more. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think it was a bad call. It's just more so, can we trust Spurs assets? And, what's the fixtures like coming up, right? Because, would you hold Kulu?
Yeah, for this week. And it's interesting, though, that you say that you were surprised by the result, because I'm not. I'm not surprised when Spurs lose to a low team, because they're so unpredictable. Anything can happen. So the fact that they lost, I'm not surprised. They could have won 45-0. I wouldn't be surprised. They could have played on the moon, and I wouldn't be surprised. But, I just can't get a grip about this team.
And this is why I don't want Spurs to leave the EPL. I don't want them to get relegated. Even though I'm an Arsenal supporter, I find Spurs being in the league make FPL really fun, because when I think back over FPL over the years, there's always been Spurs assets which have just performed really well, and it's always been decent holding them. Remember the days of like, is that Defoe and Bale, right?
Yeah.
Like, they've had some good players, decent players. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think back to Kane and Son. Everyone had Kane and Son in the same season because they both got nearly 200 points. And they just complemented each other so well. You can't go, obviously not this year, but it's not far back that you can't go and see that everyone had Kane every single season. Like, it was is it Salah, is it Kane? And then it was, is it Haaland, is it Kane? And then you've got like Haaland, Kane and Salah. And then Kane was always in the conversation. Son was always in the conversation. But now they're not. And something this year has changed. Like you say, other years, they still had assets. We were still looking at them. We still had them in our teams. This year, we don't. Something has changed. Something doesn't work as well. And it's affecting our decision making.
Okay. All right. Well, with that out of the way, let's go into our teams this week then. Or let's go into our teams this week, and then let's have a look at the fixtures, okay? I'll share first. So, I have made no transfers so far. I may make one transfer. I may make two. That doesn't help, does it? No, I probably will make just one transfer, and it probably will be to bring an Everton defender in rather than a third Liverpool asset. Here's why. You may see there is a new player in my team. It is Arnie Slot. So
that's the first time I've seen one sitting there. That's interesting.
Yeah. So I've been watching a lot of FPL content, and no one's activating the chip, and I'm like, I think I screwed up by clicking. Do you know what happened? I clicked activate assistant manager chip. I'm like, I probably could undo it. Then I went and was looking through the managers, and I selected one in transfers, and I clicked transfer. I'm like, shit, I think I can't undo this now. Because I was tossing up between whether to get a third Liverpool asset or the manager. Anyway, I've got sales and goal.
You have got a third Liverpool asset, in fairness.
What's that?
I said you have got a third Liverpool asset, in fairness.
This is true. I do. I've got sales and gold, Burn, Kanate, who's got the double, Munoz, Palmer, Rogers, Gordon, Salah, who's got the double, Wood, Watkins, and Isaac, and I've got the armband on Salah. Am I set on playing this combination of players? Probably. I don't like that Munoz is playing Manchester United. I don't like that Burn's playing Fulham. While they are at home, Fulham didn't score against Man United, so maybe there's a clean sheet for Newcastle. And I've got the captain's armband on Salah, who's got the double, right? And then the assistant manager I've chosen is Slot. Now, are there other managers who potentially could be higher reward? And we looked at potentially the likes of maybe a Bournemouth. Okay, yes, there are. But if I was a betting man, would I bet money on a Liverpool win against Bournemouth? Yeah, I mean, Bournemouth have shown a tremendous form lately. But if I had to put money on it, I would put money on Liverpool winning. Maybe even if it's just winning, but winning. Then if I think about, if I was a betting man, would I put money on Liverpool beating Everton? Yeah, I still also think so, unless there's a huge upset. Yes. So when I look at the probabilities, I think the probabilities are skewed in the favour of Liverpool winning both games. Now, I don't think it's like 80% winning. I think it's going to be like a 60% winning against Bournemouth and maybe 70% winning against Everton. But still, probabilities stacked in those favours. And yes, you could go for a Bournemouth or another manager and get those points boost. But if Liverpool can get away with winning both games because they're playing a double and they get a few goals in there, it's going to be a decent scoring assistant manager chip. Now, the downside is this. Liverpool draws or loses both games, then this would have been an absolute flop.
Well, if they draw 5-5, you still get some points for goals.
This is true. Let's hope it's a 5-5 for both.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you said if you're a betting man, you go for the safe option. That very much shows the difference between us. Because if I was a betting man, I'd put money on Bournemouth to beat Liverpool because you got more return, and I think there's a chance it could happen. And I think that kind of goes, and that shows how our seasons go. That's how we play FPL. Is you go for the ones that are going up in price, the dead sets, and I kind of go with the ones that could do something huge, but don't.
Yeah, well, mate, Gakpo paid off. I go for pretty safe options. Now, if I were to make a transfer, like I said, it would be to bring in an Everton player. So who would I bring in the Everton player for? Either it would be Pickford for Sells, because when I look at Nottingham Forest's upcoming fixtures, they start turning from 26 onwards. So that's one. Or a Mikalenko for Burn. Now, that sounds crazy to ship Dan Burn, a Newcastle defender, at home against Fulham, but then afterwards the fixtures turn a little bit before they get better again. Or it would be, I'll be holding Hoyson because Bournemouth fixtures get better, or it would be Mikalenko for the likes of Anthony Robinson, who, for some reason, there we go. They're playing Newcastle this week, then Forest, then Palace, Wolves. Okay, I mean, yeah, next few fixtures aren't great. Okay, through the magic of internet editing, we're back after some technical difficulties. My internet dropped out. Don't know why. Great old Australian internet. Anyway, where was I? I don't know who to bring in. I don't know who to take out for Mikalenko. But if I were to make a transfer, it would be to bring in an Everton defender just to catch the double. Maybe they'd get 1 point each, maybe 0 for both. But I've got one free transfer, and you know how much I like to spend my free transfers. But anyway, that's my team. I am worried about not having Gakpo. It did cross my mind to do a neg 4, to take out Kanate and make Wood Gakpo. It has crossed my mind to do that. I'm not fully sold on that too. So, yeah, let's see how we go. But chances are it will be an Everton defender in.
Can you do Stoichek to Pickford?
I could do Stoichek to Pickford, yes. I'm just concerned that I know in 2 weeks I want the likes of a Haaland and a Foden in my team, and that's when I can really flex my budget. And I did have Haaland in recently, and I saw how little money I had left. So in a way, me doing this assistant managership was my way of essentially being like, okay, let's spend this money so I can get it back for Haaland, because when I had Haaland, I couldn't afford an assistant manager.
Yeah, sure. So the only thing I'd say is wary of blank game week 29. Because you've got, Forest will blank, Arsenal might blank, Newcastle might blank, Liverpool might blank. There's a lot of big teams blanking. So if you move Sells, you're going to be stuck without a goalkeeper potentially. So that's an option to bear in mind. And so we've got to be careful with people we're bringing in for doubles that we don't make ourselves an issue further down the line. I know I have, but the people that I brought in last week, I've got Liverpool players, and if they manage to turn the game around against Spurs, then we're a bit stuck. But anyway, this is me. No transfers so far. Sales in net: Munoz, Trent, Hall, Kulusevski, Salah, Palmer, and Bumo, Gakpo, Mateta, Isak, with Rodgers, Gabriel, Kirkes, and Fabianski on the bench. I know there is no chip played. I can see it as well as you. This was my thought process. Going into the week, I was kind of heavily leaning on the assistant manager, and I was going to forgo the triple captain and wait and see as a bit of a playing different to everyone else. Seeing that Everton now maybe have no strikers, that's kind of moved my thinking around, because I was going to go Moyes for the double, move to Iriola for their 2 good fixtures coming up. I think they play Wolves and maybe Brighton, I think he's in there. So that was going to be my thinking, but now I kind of don't want to be sitting on Moyes, because I think their chances of getting stuff out of it is lessened. So here's my thinking now. I think I'm going to go with the herd. I'm going to be a sheep. I'm going to go triple captain Salah because I think I will lose more points by not captaining him this week or triple captaining this week than I will by doing something different. So I'm going to triple captain Salah, and then next week I might look at sticking Iriolo in there as my assistant manager chip and pick up Bournemouth fixtures for Southampton away, Wolves at home, Brighton away, because I think there's some good fixtures in there. I'm not even super bothered if I wait a week. Like, I kind of like them against Southampton and Wolves. I think it's probably the best bet. You could wait a week and then have the Spurs one in there, or then you have to wait for Brentford, Ipswich and West Ham. But I'm not sure. I'm still kind of tossing it up, but I think I'm triple captain Salah this week, and then we're going to go assistant manager next week. Is the plan so far with no other transfers, because I like my team. My only thing I'm looking at is Kulu out. Kulu to who? Who knows? Probably Bournemouth, I think, would be.
Yeah.
I'm just wary about having too many Bournemouth players, because even though they're doing well, even though Forest are doing well, I don't want them to revert to form and go back to kind of like the mid-level team, and then I'm stuck with too many of their players. I want to just have a look forward at the blanks, make sure I got the right people in for those. I know we've got the wild card coming up, but I'm hoping to hold that till after the blank, and I don't want to be left with half a team for the blank, because I think a lot of people will forget and be stuck in that position and then have to play a free hit. If we can save those for the last 8 weeks, we are in such a good position.
But we don't know who's blanking for sure yet, though, do we?
No, we don't. But we know of who it could be. So it's not going to be like one of 20 teams. It's going to be one of a few teams. So it's going to be Newcastle, Arsenal, Spurs, or Liverpool, and whoever they play. So there's 8 teams potentially in there. I think Palace is one. Hang on, well, let's have a look, hey? That'll be the easiest way to do it. So if we go fixtures and we flip forward, game week 29. So Aston Villa, Liverpool. You've got Newcastle, Palace. You've got Arsenal, Chelsea, and you've got Spurs, Fulham. So if you think Villa, Liverpool, Fulham, Arsenal, Chelsea, you've got a lot of Newcastle, Palace. You've got a lot of players playing, potentially not playing. So again, it's only going to be 4, not 8. But if we say who the winners currently are, so you've got Spurs and Newcastle going through. So that's Spurs, Fulham. You got some players. I've got some players. And then it would be Newcastle, Palace. We've both got players. And if they're reversed, Arsenal, Villa, we've both got a lot of players. Arsenal, Chelsea, we've both got a lot of players. So we're potentially very far down if the favourites go through, but we're still down if the non-favourites go through. So definitely something to keep an eye on.
The reason I'm not worried is for this reason. I'm planning to, so if we talk about future transfers, I'm planning to trade out Gordon because Newcastle fixtures start to turn a bit, and I want Mbeumo in my team. So that's one Newcastle player gone. I'll keep Isaac.
Yep.
Rodgers or Watkins. Watkins will most likely go for the likes of a Haaland. So that's one play gone. And then that just leaves like the likes of a Burn and Kanate in the back where I can just take a neg. Mate, that's a neg 4 solves 2 problems, right? And that's 4 players straight in. So and that assumes I don't carry any transfers between now and game week 29. So I'm not super concerned, but you're right. It is absolutely crucial to have on the horizon that you're not bringing in more of these players that will blank. But it feels quite aligned because my transfer plans have me getting rid of a Watkins and a Gordon.
And that's definitely the way to do it, is to look at who you're bringing in rather than who you have. You just don't want to bring in people that you then have to remove as well. And it's not going to be that big a blank, so we don't have to be that worried. But if you can put 11 good players out and not just 11 any old players, you're going to have a leg up on those people who went, uh-oh, I don't have 11 players. I'm going to have to play Stewart from Southampton. If you can play Mateta, you're winning. Even though he got blank.
Yeah. No, you're right. I get it. For me, I'm hoping to play the likes of a Haaland and a Foden, and hopefully they do well.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, actually, let's see who Man City play. That they play Brighton at home. Yeah, I'm having Haaland. Old mate's coming back. The Terminator, the robot.
I think if you can get to him, it's definitely a worthwhile shout. Quick look at fixtures for the week. Make sure we know who's playing who and where our thoughts are. All right. So, obviously we know we got the double. So that's Everton Liverpool with the final game of the game week. A full 6 days after the end of the first lot, and 11 days after Liverpool's first game and Everton's first game. So good little break there. Forest versus Brighton. What are we thinking?
2-0 Forest.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it could be a mauling if it's Forest Day, but yeah, let's go 2-0. Bournemouth Liverpool.
3-2 Liverpool.
Yeah, 2-1 Liverpool, I think, for this one. Everton Leicester, first one for Everton of the game week.
Look, Leicester versus Spurs threw me off a bit. If Spurs absolutely destroyed Leicester, I would say, hey, 1-0 or 2-0 Everton. But I don't know. Maybe this could be a 1-1 or a 0-0.
Yeah, I go 1-0 Leicester.
Oh, okay, yep. Ipswich, Southampton.
2-0 Ipswich.
Wow, okay, yeah. I was going to say 2-1 Ipswich. Newcastle Fulham. I've got this at 2-0 Newcastle.
This one's tricky because Fulham, they don't seem to score a lot and then they score a lot. I go 3-1 Newcastle. Yeah. I gotta go 2-0 Wolves. Yeah, I mean Villa just played in the Champions League as well, and Wolves didn't score against an Arsenal team, and we know that they can score, and they got to start doing something soon. And with all the uncertainty around the transfers, this will be the final day. This will be the penultimate day in the transfer window. So if you've got Duran maybe going, Watkins maybe going, maybe some thoughts elsewhere, this is right for Wolves to pick up some points.
Ooh, wow, okay. Villa Wolves. Oh, mate, it depends on which Villa is showing up on this day.
Only if they're still undecided.
3-2 Villa. Whoa, you are going 2-0 Wolves, as in Villa are not scoring at all.
Sheesh. Well, if it's going to be that, I'm looking forward to it. Uh, 2-1 Palace.
Oh, you're making me nervous about having Watkins now, my friend. Anyway, Brentford versus Spurs.
1-1.
Yeah, that's true. Mate, Brentford Spurs. This could be a big scoring game.
They still have got a good defence, so I think it'll still be it's still going to be defences against each other with some attacking insights.
I reckon 4-3 Spurs.
Yeah, like a Gabriel header.
Yeah, I hope so. Man U versus Crystal Palace.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. 3-1. Yeah.
I'm going to go 2-1 Man U. Arsenal versus City. Okay, here we go.
This one is
Arsenal don't have Saka.
This one is very difficult.
City's picking up form again.
I'm going to go 3-2 Liverpool.
Yeah, I was going to say a 1-1 as well. Yeah. Chelsea.
No, but you're not talking Liverpool versus Everton.
I could see a defender scoring in this game.
Liverpool used to play at Goodison Park. Yeah. They used to play in
Chelsea
blue.
versus West Ham. I say 3-1 Chelsea.
The guy moved his team. He built Anfield. He moved the team. He made them red. You've got the rivalry there from the get-go.
Merseyside Derby. What are your thoughts?
every year. Liverpool could be 10 points clear at the top. This could still go either way. It's Everton's final year at Goodison Park. There's a lot riding on this. David Moyes is back. There's a lot of good positive vibes at Goodison Park. They want to send off.
Fill me in. As someone who doesn't get this history,
Liverpool
why is this difficult? We're talking Liverpool, top of the table against Everton, who can't score.
It's going to be a good game. So it's going to be 0-0 or it's going to be a blowout. So 3-2 Liverpool. Look, there have been years where this is a one-way street. There have been the years that Everton finished above Liverpool, Everton take this 2-0. The years where Liverpool dominating, Liverpool take it 2-3-0. This year is a curveball because it's the last year at Goodison, because Moyes is new and back, because Liverpool just will have played 3 games in 8 days beforehand, because Everton don't let their fans down. There's so much more than just the teams at play. You've seen what happens when, an Ipswich team play a good team and they put up a really good fight.
That's kind of exciting, I won't lie.
Hundreds of millions more.
I don't know. I was going to be like 2-0 Liverpool, but
is going to be
you're really hyping this up. You're making this a title fight.
Everton further than you think they would. I think you're safe. Well, you can't change it now anyway, but I think you're safe. But if you could make one, you can. Yeah. But why would you not play him this game week? Like, yeah, you might not get as many points. If you're going to make a change to your plans, it would be to be somewhere different on Thursday, the 30th of February, and that would be to be at Goodison
should I
Park
be assistant managership here slot? You've got me shook, bro. You got me shook. I don't know what to do. Wait. You can.
That's it. First double of the year. Let's go.
You can't turn off the assistant managership, but you can make unlimited transfers of the manager in that first time you play it. I think. Yeah. All right. On that note, everyone, best of luck this game week, and we'll catch you next week or the week after. Peace.